All right, let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things, or one of the biggest things, should I say, that we're dealing with right now through this pandemic is going to be the fact that, oh, it snowed today in Canada. That's not what I was talking about though. Was the fact that we have so many changes that we've had to make. Last week, if you guys were here, I talked about the things that were necessary in order to adapt, in order to get on board with the current circumstances. And for a lot of us, that's just life, right? Like life just, it comes with so many changes and ups and downs, and you constantly have to be able to adapt. Growing up, you know, I wasn't brought up in the best childhood, so to speak. I don't like getting into all the details in there, but I've learned from a very young age that you're either gonna succeed or you're gonna fail. The way I look at that term is like you sink or you swim. And when push comes to shove, like me and my family, or at least myself speaking, like I always swim. I always find a way. I always adapt. And so I'm able to kind of use my life lessons to kind of help you guys along with your journeys, you know, respective journeys. Everybody's in a different spot. Some of you guys are adapting and like making the necessary changes, and you guys are good. You guys are golden, right? But is it enough? Is it enough to justify and say that you're giving that everything you got, you're doing everything you possibly can to make sure that this is going to be like a lasting change for you? And so what I mean by that is like, I have these conversations on a regular basis, and I always, you know, people are having a hard time with not being in the gym, and, you know, they miss it and their schedule's different. And it's not the same. And I'm always reassuring people, like, are you doing everything in your power right now as of current to set yourself up for success? Maybe that has to do with, you know, like lifestyles. You know, are you currently making the necessary changes in order to set yourself up? I put a post this morning on Facebook, and I heard it this morning on a podcast. And oh man, I was like so pumped when I heard it, because I was like, that's pretty much what I say to people, just a little bit nicer. It was a quote that was put out. It said, if you don't come out of this quarantine with either one, a new skill, two, starting something that you've been putting off, a new business venture, a new hobby, a new home project, anything, right? Or three, more knowledge, then you didn't lack the time, you lacked the discipline. I'll say that one more time. If you don't come out of this quarantine with either one, a new skill, two, starting something you put off, or three, more knowledge, then you didn't ever lack the time, you lacked the discipline. Okay, so one of the biggest things that we're gonna touch on today with changing the mindset when it comes to your workouts, because that's what we're going to focus on, is going to be the discipline part of it. As with anything else, if you want to get better, if you want to succeed, if you want to reach a higher level, you have to be disciplined in the things that we're going to talk about today. Otherwise, I mean, I guess the world kind of needs mediocre people too, right? But that's not us. That's not who we are. Like as Fit and 42, we do things better. Like we are able to push you guys into higher levels that other coaches and other gyms aren't able to do. There's a reason why you guys are all here. A lot of you guys have been to other gyms, been a part of other facilities, and now you've all of a sudden come into contact with us, and we just do things like differently. We try to optimize your guys' success. And so in talking today, what I mean by optimizing your success is I'm really focusing on the workout portion of things today. We've talked about the nutrition, we've talked about other changes, but I want to focus on when we're training, when we're in the Zoom classes, what can we do to make it the best possible workout in that hour? Okay. I'm going to just talk a little bit about a trend that I've been noticing. This trend when I'm weighing people in, and it's not everybody, all right? But the majority, I would say about 80% of people are having this same trend here, to where on the scale, you're like, oh, I'm losing weight. All right. And then you scroll down a little bit and you're like, oh no, but I lost muscle. Man. And then you go down a little bit more and you're like, oh, I didn't lose any fat. Or maybe you were like, oh crap, I gained fat. And so that's something that we're not used to seeing, right? So it's throwing you off, and it's sure as hell throwing me off, because I'm like, oh crap, man. Because I know what needs to be done, but I just had to have the mass in front of me to share this with you guys. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Coach Dulce from Palm Springs made a post talking about, ask the question that was coming up a lot is like, will I lose my gains during this quarantine? And she touched on it in like a 2-minute video. But when she did that, I was like, there's so much more to this that most people are going to miss. If they weren't looking at that video, they're going to miss it. And so this is the perfect opportunity for me to create an entire seminar around this, to give you guys a list of things that you guys can keep in your mind. Maybe you put a Post-it on your computer, reminding yourself to do these things before or during or after the workout each and every single day. And I guarantee you guys, if you do these things, you are going to see the trends moving in the right direction, just plain and simple. Because at the end of the day, times are changing. Times have changed. These workouts are not the same. And I'm not saying that in a negative connotation. What I mean by that is that I can't go up to you, Jeremy, and give you 100-pound kettlebell when I know that, yeah, that's what you should be squatting, because we don't necessarily have the access to multiple 100-pound kettlebells, right? I can't go and I can't modify and fix you and put you in the right position, right? Now, naturally, there's 3 different types of senses that we adhere to. One of them is going to be the sound. If I tell you to go lower, okay. Some of you guys hear me, you know what I'm saying. You may go lower, you may not. And then showing you guys, which is a part of what we do here, but that kinesthetic feeling. There's nothing that beats that kinesthetic awareness. And all that is that when I come into your back and I pinch your shoulder blades and pull them together to get you in the right posture, there's something different about that. And that's what the majority of us tend to respond to more than the other two. So the first thing is now we transition now our mindset into, okay, when the coach is talking to me, I need to listen to what he's saying, right? And I need to understand it, process it, and then put it into action. And that can be extremely difficult given the circumstances. So we got to move away from this kinesthetic awareness of the touch sensation of me dropping your hips down into a plank position to where you're nice and flat, right? And your hips and butts not sticking up in the air, right? Or making sure that you're stacked properly when I have you guys do all of this plank stuff. And if you're not stacked properly, if your joints, there's a lot that goes into it. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Like there's a lot of things that we need to, like, I'm having to adjust, and I can speak for all the coaches. We're all having to adjust. Therefore, it's necessary that as the group, right, the ones who are here to work and get and make the progress, you guys also have to make the proper adjustments. So just know that in doing this is something that we are going to work on as far as slowing down some of the workouts on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Those are the days that we focus on strength. Okay. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we focus on cardiovascular exercise, heart rate, caloric burn, a caloric output. Okay. But we're so used to going fast paced. Even with our strength days, we're so used to making these changes quick. We go from one station to the other, bang, bang, bang. Now it's like you guys can only see me demonstrate that one time. I have to watch each and every single one of you. And I'm speaking as a coach of everybody here, right? We're watching each and every single screen as we're going through. We're monitoring time. We're keeping an eye on everybody else. If anybody has questions in the chat, right? I'm correcting somebody's form. While I'm correcting somebody's form, somebody else might be going off. So we're having to work in a different setting now. And it's unfamiliar to us too. This is an adjustment for us just as much as it is for you guys. And so we're learning as we go through, but we've already kind of gotten down the bone work of everything to now where we can really bring you guys in and help us to get better to get together. But we're so used to going fast that we got to learn to slow down sometimes. And so in doing that, I think some of the workouts need to be you know, modified somewhat to where we can slow down and we can focus on activation. And I'm going to talk about that word a lot today: activation or engagement, or what was the other one I came up with? Yeah, like activation is a big word that I use. Okay, you want to activate the right areas. And this is all stuff where, I mean, I'm really happy that a lot of you guys are here, because what we're doing with this is like, this is going to be a big part of your potential success or not in Fit in 42 online. Because Fit in 42 online, if you're anyone other than Tonita, you're brand new to this, right? Because Tonita has gone through this. She kind of has that crossover from going into the studio and then going online, and the differences. She understands the differences. So she's been able to adjust. The rest of us are kind of learning as we go, right? So with Fit in 42 online, it's going to be really important that you take these tools and you apply them towards what we're going to go into. Okay. Now I'm going to start off with my first one. And this is probably like the easiest one. If you're not already doing it, wear your MyZone. If you're not wearing your MyZone for your workout, that stops today. You wear your MyZone from here on out. Anybody who's doing Palm Desert Fit in 42 online, you are required to wear your MyZone for your workouts, because that is your attendance tracker. Okay. I know, Nicole, I'm going to be getting you one. Everybody else should have one. I think we might need to get one for Richard. Who else is in here? Ellie, got to get you another one. And then Erica, I can talk to you guys as well. So if you don't have one already, we can get you guys one. I don't want you to worry about that, right? But anybody else who's in here from any other studio, wear your MyZone, all right? And the reasons for that is because you got to remember what I was talking about on the first one, number one, right? We were saying Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're focusing on caloric output. Right? How many calories can you burn? How high can you keep your heart rate for long periods of time? The MyZones Tonita are $89 for the MZ3. And if we need more, we can order some more. You need one? Okay, we'll get you one. And so in a perfect world, I would love for everybody set up, and I see a lot of you guys are on phones, but I know a lot of you guys have laptops as well, is if you can set up your laptop with the Zoom workout, and you can have your phone standing right next to it with your MyZone tracker on there. That way you can visually see. It's like being a co-coach. You got to have that like consciousness coach kind of in your head saying, I know I can push myself harder than that. And I might say, okay, if you have that, and if I think that maybe you're milking it, I'm be like, show me that MyZone, show me the phone, turn it around and show it to me. And if you're not in the red zone when you should be, guess what? You're going to have hell to pay. And that just goes back to the accountability. The accountability is the biggest part of this program, and why it works is because we hold you guys accountable to the highest standard. There's a reason why we call it Fit in 42, whether it's online or not, we're still going to bring the same intensity, the same energy, and that same accountability that you would expect. So if you're not already using it, use your MyZone. It's just maximum accountability. And again, it's just visually, if you know that you are, and it might be on the other side of things, maybe you're newer and maybe you're just getting your MyZone and you're getting used to it, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm in the high 90s the whole time. Like maybe I should dial back a little bit, you know? Or maybe you'll see the opposite. Maybe you think you're dying, but you're really not. All right. So a lot of you guys experience that, like where, and you see the differences. That's the biggest thing. You see the biggest differences, because on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is you're going to see those higher numbers, those high MEP counts, those high calorie counts, because that's what the workout is meant for. That's what it's designed for. So if you're not getting the higher calorie counts on those 3 days, then something's going on, right? And we need to figure out why that's happening. Now, number two is on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, the MyZone isn't as big of it might be for some sections, you know, like if we're doing something just to add up and give you guys some extra calories. But for the most part, that's not what we're focusing on those other days. Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays are dedicated to strength training. And we're going to break down the differences in just a little bit. Okay. And then, of course, for our 42 check-ins, we're going to be using those MyZones as well. So I had it adjusted. So I always felt like I was dying and it wasn't showing. Yeah. If you guys ever need them adjusted, as long as you're put under my system, I can go in and adjust your heart rates to bring them back down. Because sometimes my zone will give you this like freakishly high max heart rate of like 230. You're like, what the heck? If I hit 230, I'm going to die. So you just have to notify us, and I'll get that done for you guys, especially now. And I, even though it says like the My Zone challenge, where it's not really a challenge. So Haley, I know you asked this on the Facebook group, right? Like, what's this My Zone challenge about? I'm using it as number two things, which I just talked about, accountability, and then as a check-in for you guys. We understand that with this 42 online, we're not holding you guys to a specific workout time. Some of you guys are going to work out at 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., whatever it might be. And you may not always be with me, so I won't always see you. Well, there's two ways we can do this. If you have a My Zone, I can check after each day, say, okay, they worked out. Okay. And then we're also going to have you guys going through that and getting used to, on the Trainerize app, when you finish the workout, whether you're live or not, when you finish the workout, you're going to go ahead and press complete. And that's going to be just a secondary way that we use to monitor that. And then if you don't have a My Zone, that's what you'll be using. You'll be using the Trainerize platform. So some of you guys don't have them. All right. Now, going into the main differences now between the two classes, and I want to shift over to the strength training days for a little bit. Okay. We want to know, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is that you guys take the mindset of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday workout into a strength training on Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. And what that tells me is you're trying to get that caloric output. You're trying to get that same burn. It's not going to happen. And if it is happening, you're not doing it right. It's plain and simple. If you're getting the same calorie count on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday workout as you are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're in trouble. Because you know what? You're turning into a cardio bunny. And you know what those do? Absolutely nothing. Because you cannot build muscle like that. That's not how we do things. Nobody wants to be a cardio bunny. Tuesday's workout was modified, and I changed it specifically because I knew we were going to have this conversation today. Today's workout was specifically designed to show you the difference between today and yesterday. You see how that works? You should have died today, and you should feel like you wanted to die yesterday. And then tomorrow, you're going to feel like you wanted to die from Tuesday, because you should be sore from that, right? So there's a big difference there. So talking about like the caloric outputs, that's one thing. But number two, we talk about tempo over load. Tempo is greater than load. And what does that really mean there? Put plain and simple, just to put it into terms you guys can easily understand. If you cannot properly activate the correct muscles that you need to in a squat, a body weight squat, why would you add 100 or 200 pounds to your back for that? How does that make sense? How does that compute in the brain? Everybody does it. There's people out there at the gym that I see do it all the time. When I go over and get my own workouts in before all this stuff happened, like I would just watch it happen left and right. Sometimes I would say something if it was like someone who I felt like might actually give a positive response to it. And you know why I know this, guys? Because I was there at one point. I was that ego lifter that went in and just wanted to lift the most weight that I possibly could. And that did absolutely nothing for me. Okay. But think about this. When we're squatting, and I like to use a squat because it's a pretty overall compound movement. We've all done it at least once or twice. And when you're doing a squat, there's a few different things. There's a few different cues that we look for. And so sometimes we have, and this is why I tell you guys, slow down. Sometimes you got to go back to basics, right? You think about when you're squatting, we tell you to load your heels, screw your feet into the ground, and you're creating tension between your feet and the ground. That tension is going to help to activate the correct muscles, right? Because if you're just doing things the way you've always done them, you're going to get the same results that you've always gotten, right? And we just know that because that's how things work. But if you want to make certain changes in order to promote, for example, muscle growth, you have to change the way you squat. Because as of right now, the way we're doing things, it's for the masses, at least based on the statistics, all of the trends that I'm seeing there, it's not, you guys aren't doing it the way it should be done. So we need to change a little bit of what we're doing, right? So when you're squatting, you should feel this in your thighs, yes, but also in your glutes and your hamstrings, right? The problem here is the body will always take the path of least resistance. And so since we're a society that only pays attention to what's in front of us, we're always only going to feel it in our quads. That's the first place that you feel it, actually, right? And everybody in here can kind of attest to that. But in sense, if you're doing it the correct way, you should be able to feel this more in your hamstrings, in your glutes, and get an evenly placed workout. So now you're working the muscle, the front of the thighs, the back of the thighs, and then your butt, as opposed to just the front of your thighs. And then you burn out faster because it's just the front of your thighs. So by activating and recruiting more muscles to work, you're actually able to hold a squat for a lot longer. Or maybe you're able to go lower, whatever that means. So slowing down, squeezing and engaging the muscles at the top of a push-up. If you're doing it right, you can actually squeeze your chest at the top of each push-up. I mean, who thinks of these things on a regular basis? We don't, because we're here, 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 here. But if we start to slow things down, that's when you can get into that different mentality and you start to feel these things start to happen, right? So that's why we'll get into those mods, Richard. That's a great question, though. So now is a great time for the majority, at least those of us who aren't working. Educate yourself a little bit, okay? There's nothing wrong with understanding basic anatomy, right? Because I don't want you guys to like come over and say, "Oh, my calf hurts," and you're rubbing your shoulder, like it's like simple things. And for the majority of you guys kind of have an idea. But when you learn basic anatomy, you like I can say something, and if you know exactly what I'm saying or where it's at, we don't use like smaller, more specific muscles. We're not going to go, all into that. For the most part, though, we use our main muscle groups. All right. So tempo over load. Always remember that tempo over load. Take your time, get in the right position, and watch as I'm demonstrating. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as well. Let's move into the next one here. Here's a big one here. Sorry, I had to make a change here. When we're starting the workouts, I get messages at least a couple of times a day. Hey, coach, need a modification for this. Need a modification for that. That's perfectly fine. That's what I do. All right. We got the mod squad in Palm Desert. That's just what I do. But my question will always and forever be to you guys to like respond to that. Did you do your recovery? Did you do your recovery? And what does that entail? What does that mean? I don't know if you guys knew this, but well, most of you guys probably don't, because most of you guys aren't there. Every Sunday at 9 a.m., I do a stretch and recover class. And only 5 of you guys show up. 5 or 6, maybe 7 on a good day. Every Sunday at 9 a.m., I do a stretch and recovery class. I don't do it for you. I mean, I don't do it for me. I do it for you guys. In return, though, what I expect is you guys are now educated. You guys know. You guys have an idea of how to treat certain things, how to distinguish if you're sore or if you're hurt. Those are 2 big things. The big differences, though. If you're sore, good. Suck it up. Let's go. Keep going. If you're hurt, let's address that there. Also on Tuesdays at 8 a.m., Cody does a core and stretch as well. So you have 2 days per week that you can focus on just stretching. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he goes into. I like to go into different aspects of recovery, though. We've done active stretching, right? We've done static stretching. We've done self-myofascial release using the foam roller. We've done trigger point release already. If you've been there, you guys are probably already benefiting, because now you at least know certain things to do in order to treat the areas that you are having issues with. Okay. And then that helps you to identify, right? If you're just sore, then you're going to feel really good after that. If you're in pain, though, if there's something that's hurt, it'll continue to feel that way afterwards, then we need to make the necessary modifications or changes to your plan in order to make sure that you don't make that any worse. So I expect to see, let's see, I have 29 people here. I expect to see 28 of you guys on Sunday now that you all know. Okay, that's 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for those of you guys in Texas or anywhere else. I record it. And I will post it for those of you guys who are working. But the majority of you guys, if you're not there, it's not going to really add. It's not going to compute the same way it does when you're live doing it. Okay. So there's the biggest part there, because yes, if you're not from PD, you just log into the PD page. I apologize that it's not on the actual page. I realized this today when I was going through it. It's not like it doesn't say Sundays 9 a.m. Right. So like it should be on there. But you guys know now, and I'll have Jerry add it. So now I want to get into a couple of different, just little recovery modifications that I know some of you guys have. Okay. So with Vanessa, her wrist, right? I don't know if it's that carpal tunnel. Is that just tendonitis? You don't know what it is. All right. So that's one of the bigger things I deal with is going to be a carpal tunnel or like wrist issues. But there's a few cues that I use a lot in the studio that you guys can instantly translate to what you're doing here, because we do a lot of stuff in the plank position or in a like a hand position, like a hand plank, right? So the biggest thing that we got to make sure is, are we properly stacked? Okay. So that means that if I'm having you do something, I want you to be aligned from the wrist to the elbow through the shoulder. Everything needs to stay aligned. So that means that if you're doing a plank and all of a sudden your hips come up and you go into this position, now you're not properly stacked. You see that angle there, right? That's going to go straight right here. Okay. Once you throw that angle off and you're no longer properly stacked, it's joint. So it's stability, strength, stability, strength. That's kind of how the joints work. That's the joint system. So if you're not properly stacked in the right position, then you already set yourself up for success for failure. The other thing that I do when we're doing this is I tell you guys to grip the ground. All right. I want to see your fingertips looking white because you're gripping the ground with your fingers. We call that spreading the love. Now, all the tension's not on the palm and the wrist, right? It's going to be spread throughout the hand. So we're able to distribute that tension. Okay. And that's important for you guys to understand, is gripping the ground, right? Keeping properly stacked. Those are two easy cues. Automatically, you can see instant progress in being able to hold that position for that much longer. Okay. Now, obviously, if it's more of an injury, then I would actually recommend staying stacked this way or even bracing it to help maintain to keep it stacked. Because anytime you go into this position, it's gonna start to light up. But we could talk a little bit about why she's having issues in the wrist. There could be a couple of different issues, but being that it's in the wrist, it's more than likely going to be due to over tightness or over usage in somewhere in this area, right? Or not properly stacking over long periods of time. That's one of two things that typically happens when it comes to this stuff. Now, keep in mind, when I first started my fitness journey into, it was as a physical therapist assistant, and I was just in charge of basically bringing stuff to the physical therapists. That was it. That's all I really did. He said, go get the gel. And I went and got the gel, go get the wraps, or, go get a band. And I was like, all right, cool. But I watched and I listened and I heard everything that needed to be, So when it comes to these things, I've been around this stuff for a long time now. Frozen shoulder, that's a whole different one. Okay. Frozen shoulder, that's something that you need to recover from physical therapy. Technically, you should not even be loaded at all, right? And then that's something where you have to wait till you get doctor's clearance from that, because that's like a medical diagnosis. Right shoulder injured, and I feel like I have to stop a lot. I have an appointment in a couple of weeks to go have my ortho doctor check it out. See, how long have you I don't mean to pick on you, Cheryl, but how long have you had the injury or the pain in your right shoulder? We'll come back to her in a bit. For a couple of months. And when did you call to make the appointment? This is big, because once you decide, and once you basically you get the opinion of should be your coach, once you get our opinions and say, okay, if this is something that's more than just a soreness, what's the first thing I'm going to tell you guys? Have you gotten it checked out by a doc yet? Right now, obviously, it's a lot harder. Right? It's hard to get into. Okay, a few weeks ago, yeah, it's kind of tough to get in a doctor right now. But Make those appointments sooner than later. Catch it before it becomes, an underlying injury. Because if you catch it early enough, you can come back and you can prevent it from getting worse. Right. So I'm always going to recommend you guys take the necessary steps to make sure you're getting that properly checked out. Okay. So yeah, I'm glad that you made that appointment. But make sure you guys are always staying connected with your coach. Whoever your coach is, make sure you guys are always staying connected with us, letting us know something's bugging you. Okay. Here's my next one here. And I want you guys to be doing this before each and every single class as well. Is like coming in and making sure that you're warming up properly. Because when you do the recovery stuff that we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays, you can take that. And I always tell everyone, this is good to do before your workout and after your workout. So rather than showing up at 6:01 when the workout has already started, if you guys are home, why aren't you doing your recovery stuff and getting your body ready for the workout? Especially if you don't have like a proper diagnosis, you need to at least be treating certain areas. And I'm not here to diagnose you guys. That's the thing you got to remember. We're not doctors. We're not here to give you guys diagnoses, but we're here to give you guys the advice on things that you can take care of that might alleviate the pain. Because what we learned last Sunday was where the pain is typically isn't the problem. Where the pain isn't usually the problem. It was usually an underlying issue that's the butt. That's what took the butt end of the stick for your shoulder. Same thing, Jen made an appointment. That's awesome. Good. So when we're demonstrating stuff, and I like to see that some of our guys are doing this, but any of you guys, this is like coaches love to see this. Like it really makes us feel prideful when you guys do this. When we're demonstrating stuff and I see you guys demoing with me and going through the movements with me, and that tells me that you're really trying to soak up everything that I'm saying. That's the time when you need to remember, we got to get away from the kinesthetic awareness. We have to listen and you have to watch and you have to apply it. And so sometimes that's what we got to do is as I'm demonstrating something is I want you to really picture it, envision it, go through the motion with me, right? Do the same tempo I do. When I tell you to activate and squeeze your glute, like squeeze it, feel that happen. And the reason why I say close my eyes is because when I'm doing that, I want to make eye contact with somebody. But you want to make sure that you are doing anything that you have to do. If I see you demonstrating with the movements with me, that tells me that you're paying attention. If I don't, and you're just standing there, I don't know if your camera's frozen and maybe you want to go to the restroom or something and you missed out the whole thing. So I love to see you guys like demoing with me. That just, for me, that tells me that you guys are engaged. You guys are understanding what I'm telling you. And that's the biggest point is that we got to get across is now we have to shift to visual and auditory learning. There's no more kinesthetic awareness. I can't be there physically, So, roll out before the workouts. So you've gotten yours diagnosed already, Jay? Bicep tendonitis. Yep. Yeah. So I've had a torn rotator cuff. I've had AC joint separation on this right side. So my right side's pretty jacked up. But if you really, you wouldn't know it because before I work out, behind the scenes, right? Behind the scenes stuff is really what matters. I'm making sure I'm taking care of all this, the backside, getting it loosened up right before I go in, like I'm going into battle. But I know that I have to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to end up like this after the workout. So I know that I've already had that conscious talk with myself and said, this is what you have to do. A, B, C, D. Why? Because I got tired of being in pain after every single workout. I got tired of constantly complaining. And you know who I complain to? Myself. So you guys got to complain to me. But now that we're having this conversation, the torch has been passed. Ball's in your court. You guys can do the necessary steps as well, right? We're just here to help and guide you along the process. So practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. So once you keep practicing and get it to the point where you have it down, and if I can spotlight and say, look at that beautiful squat someone's doing, you should give yourself a pat on the back, because not a lot of people can get a beautiful squat. For me to call a squat beautiful, it's really got to be good. So you got to make sure that that's something that you should be like, man, I want coaches to tell me I got a beautiful squat. Then let's make it happen. Do what you got to do. Okay. Now going real quick back to the activation stuff and like the recovery stuff. There's a difference between like activating and getting into the right movement. And there's a difference between that and maybe having limitations to where you can't get into a certain position. If you had a knee replacement or a hip replacement or anything like that, like those are things that take time to work back from. For the most part though, if you're doing the recovery that you have to do, it will increase your muscle activation. It will increase your range of motion in all of these movements. And that's exactly what we need to do in order to get the muscle activated for a longer period of time. Okay. That's what's going to ultimately evolve into you guys gaining muscle or keeping your muscle. If you're not doing that, it's going to be really, really, really hard. And that's not what we want. We don't want hard. We want to make this easy, right? Right. Okay. Let's see here. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about that? So if you're dealing with like anything that maybe is like you feel like it's starting to hurt, or you feel like it's starting to become a bigger issue than just like, oh, I was sore, it's probably because you're repeating the same faulty movement pattern over and over and over and over again, right? If you're doing a bad push-up and you're just using your shoulders are always like this, and you're just pushing off of that, you're just adding to the laundry list. You're just making it worse on yourself. So if you do the stuff that we do on our seminars or when we do our classes, you learn that we want to open you up because we're always punching and we're doing push-ups and we're holding planks, right? I want to open you guys up and get you in this position. You wouldn't know that if you weren't there though. So that's kind of how I'm helping you guys based off of the exercises that we're always doing. I'm not just saying, oh, here's this, do it. Like it all has relevance. Like everything that we're talking about in these seminars has relevance. These seminars I like to put on for you guys is specifically designed for like things that we are dealing with on an everyday basis with the workouts. So remember that. Let's see, hurt left shoulder pretty bad a few weeks ago. I've really felt it these past couple of weeks doing planks and other related movements, sometimes even putting my arms and hands over my head. Okay. I think you waited long enough to where you should get it looked at. Again, back when it got hurt a few weeks ago, that would have been the perfect time to have the conversation and just bring it straight to one of our attention. It doesn't have to be me. It can be anybody, Jason, David, Cody, Ryan, Dulce, whoever your coach is or whoever you're with at that time. Even if you're not one of my members, if you have a question for me, I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna give you whatever the best answer I possibly can. And so we're all in this together. You got to remember that, guys. So this is your opportunity now that I kind of ask those questions. Fit in 42, people need to do 5 classes a week. For you, Richard, you guys don't have to do a certain amount of classes, but Sunday is not going to count. Sunday is going to be like an extra day for you guys. Sunday is going to be like I want you to go outside and just kind of like still move, but like it's called active recovery. A hike is not a workout unless you're running it. A hike should not be a workout for the majority of us, right? A hike should be considered active recovery. If you're doing 30 minutes on a Sunday with me, that's active recovery, right? Taking the dog out for an extended walk, that's active recovery. Okay, we don't want to work out. And that's why even during our Fit in 42 programs, what do? We go out, we do get air, and we go to the rock climbing walls, and we do active things, but we're still kind of recovering because that activity is going to help you to minimize the soreness going into the next week. So unfortunately, that Sunday doesn't count towards your workouts because it's only going to be like a 30, 45 minute, but for a lot of you guys, the information is going to be invaluable. You're going to get so much information on there, the education you guys take. Everybody who's been doing it, they'll attest to that. It's just eye-opening. Okay. And then real briefly, I wanted to talk about the calories when it comes to optimizing your success. When we are doing, for example, Fit in 42. Patty, I don't know what you're typing. 30-mile bike ride. Definitely that's active. That's going to be an active workout there. So to build muscle or maintain, we should focus on flexing the muscle and staying in tempo. Absolutely. That's basically what we're getting at, right? When I'm talking about everything slowing down, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, take your time. Breathe. I want you guys to feel, and then at least for me, You know, this should go for all coaches, especially going into Fit and 42. My language, my tempo, maybe even how I talk is going to be a little bit slower, because that's what I want you to do. I don't care if you don't make it through the whole workout. I care if you feel that workout 2 or 3 days from that day. That's the goal there. And that should be your goal going into that workout is, all right, I got to make sure that I'm pushing myself. So mentally you have to say, okay, it burns. That's great. Now I'm working. Now the muscles are working. Now let's get to work. Not it burns. Oh, let me stop. That's for mediocre people. We don't do that over here. When it burns, that's when you start counting. I always say when it burns, okay, now you start counting. It's like a little joke I have with myself. But yeah, that's kind of like the mentality going into those workouts now. And then on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, throw up after your workout. I don't care. All right. Push yourself that hard. But you got to make it up in your mind is, if, you know, do I want this bad enough to where I'm going to work as hard as I can, no matter what? Ellie. All right, guys. So just going into the calories real quick. Feeding the muscle is important, and which those of you guys who are doing the Fit and 42 program, you're going to notice that the main thing that we're doing is, from the majority of you guys, is we're increasing your protein intake right off the bat. Bang, you're getting 2 scoops of your post-workout shake as opposed to 1. Instant increases. And then we start to slowly, we're just feeding the muscle. We're feeding the muscle, and that's kind of the focus there. You can't be scared during this process to put on muscle. You just can't. You can't fear that. You can't have that fear of getting too big, or like, it would take years for you guys to put on that much muscle as what you think that you're going to look like if you put on 5 pounds of muscle. Okay. So to get over that hump right here, because the more muscle you put on, the more fat you're going to burn at rest. Right. So by putting on more muscle, in a sense, you're just losing more fat. And so any of you guys who have been weighing in with me and you're noticing that, and you're noticing that your muscle mass is coming down and maybe your fat's staying consistent, well, if that continues next month, that body fat's probably going to go up. And that's the opposite direction of where we're trying to go to. So when I'm telling you guys we need to change all of these things moving into this program, like it's not just the program. If you want to maintain or keep what you've been doing for the last 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, however long it is, you have to make sure that you're still implementing these things. Right? This is optimizing your success in just this quarantine, or both the quarantine, doing Fit and 42 online as well. Okay, so feeding the muscle. And if you have questions about like why, you know, what to do specifically about the nutrition and you're not doing Fit and 42, this is exactly what Fit and 42 is designed to do. It takes the guessing out of your hands and it gives everything to you on a freaking silver platter. Okay. The meal plans are designed specifically to make sure that you are promoting optimal muscle gaining, and in a sense, that's going to optimize your fat burning. Okay. But it has to go hand in hand with your workout. And so that's why we're having this conversation before Fit and 42 starts and not during, because I want you guys to understand that this program is meant to do a certain thing. So if your workouts aren't in line with that, you're not going to have those same results as if you were doing both of them together. Meal plans work, absolutely. We're going to be buff. What are my thoughts on peanut butter powder? Because I put in my protein shake in the AM. My thoughts on it, I don't like it because it's chalky. That's just a personal thought. But as far as from a nutrition standpoint, it's going to give you similar nutrition value as peanut butter. That's pretty much it. So just when we're doing this meal plan, guys, just you got to trust the process. And then also, one thing I can't forget is if you are not optimizing your workouts, let's say you're having a hard time and you're just like, you're pausing, taking breaks, you're not able to get into that mind space. The food might be it might seem like it's too much for you. There's going to be one of two things. It's going to be either the food feels like it's too much, at first, like the first week, if you guys are new to this, or you're going to feel like you're starving. And anybody who's done Fit in 42, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's either going to feel like, oh man, like, oh, they're trying to fatten me up, you know, they're trying to plump me up. It's like, no, like this is how you should have been eating. So, but maybe we're not at the level. Maybe you were eating under what you should have been. Or number two, if you are someone who burns a ton of calories and you're on the lower end, like I know Sylvia had this, then you, I might need to bump you up into a higher calorie range. So that might be another thing too. And then the most important thing when it comes to, you know, making sure that you're optimizing your success, and this is my little tidbit for Sylvia, show your video on the Zoom workout. I can't see you. I don't know. I don't even know if you're there. It's like, it's worse than being frozen. Like if you're just not on the video at all, I'm just like, I think I'm talking to Sylvia. I think I'm talking. No, I'm just messing with you, Sylvia. I know you're there, but no, seriously, for all you guys who are like, nobody's here to look at each other on Zoom. We're all here to work out, guys. I'm not judging the interior of your house when I'm looking at your screen. I don't care about that. I want to make sure that you're getting results. I'm here to make sure that you guys are being successful. That's all the coaches here. Some people are like apprehensive about showing their screen. Guys, come on. We're past that. We're a big family here. All right, I'm going to go into some of the questions here. And then I'm going to leave you guys with this last part here. Just before I go to the questions, I'm starting to read them though. Always remember this, 5 P's. Ready? Here we go. Proper preparedness prevents poor performance. Everything that I just listed for you guys is all your way to be prepared. If you're not prepared, you are not optimizing your performance. If you're not optimizing your performance, you're not optimizing the results for Fit in 42. And at the end of it, you're not going to be able to be one of those people that says, I gave it my all. Because you didn't. Because you weren't prepared. You weren't foam rolling before the workouts. Right? You weren't showing up to the Saturday or Sunday recovery sessions. You weren't getting, you weren't finishing that last set, best set, when you know you could have done a couple more reps and you just opted out. So mentally, the mindset of going into Fit in 42, that's a whole different beast. And any of you guys who have done this, the reason why we're going to have our Facebook page is because I expect any of you alumni who have done this program to kind of help anybody who's new to the program get into that mental space, get on that level. It's a much higher level than anything else that you get done. And you need to have that commitment, that discipline, that accountability to work harder than you ever have in your life. I don't care if it's on a screen. You still have to have that same mental focus. All right. I won't forget your question, Patty. Relax. I'm having a hard time focusing on the workouts at home with kids. Yeah, that's tough, right? Well, I can't, what? Vanessa, I don't know what Vanessa's saying. Again, guys, you just gotta have that, as hard as it is like, I'm blessed. My kids are, are really, I'm thankful. If I tell them to go to the room, like right now, they're in their rooms, and I can sit here and have this conversation with you guys and not have to worry about them running around. But that's not everybody's, so you just have to be like, just, I don't know, bribe them, do what you got to do. Parents, you guys know what to do. They're like, I'll give you some ice cream if you sit in your room for 50 minutes, please. Put on a movie for them and some popcorn or something. I don't know. Do what you got to do. But yeah, guys, we can't let that get in the way. I know it's tough, but we got to have that time designated for ourselves. Sometimes I know they're young, and I know some of the kids are a lot younger. But it's like, hey, you know what? Mom and dad's doing a lot for you guys right now, and mom, all I need is this time right here. Go color, doing art craft. My kids love puzzles and all this stuff. So they, like I said, I'm blessed. They can keep themselves occupied, but that's not everybody. Don't worry what you look like during the workouts. Usually balancing the work. So repeat all the P's. Proper performance. No, I'm sorry. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Tiana said, going all out now. The time is now. That's right. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take pictures of the inside of the gym. I should make that the background, the backdrop of the gym, the bags and the sayings back there for you guys, the way you guys can see what's going on. It's a little different than what I said, but your dad always said proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, slightly different. Use your kids as weights. That's true. That's always something you can do, Shauna. Use your kids as weight. The dogs get you every time. Yeah. Pre-workout. Okay, here's a good question. Meal plans are coming in, guys. If you haven't got weighed in, that's kind of what I'm waiting on. Is as soon as I get you guys weighed in, at the end of each day, I can send out everybody that I have weighed in. Once we get you weighed in, that gives me your basal metabolic rate, which basically tells me what calorie range you need to be in. So that's why, if you haven't gotten it, that's probably why. If not, it should be coming soon. Like you can't find a way to relax and just fall into the workout. Put some music on. Put headphones in. Throw something on that you know that's going to put you in that mood. I play music, but I understand that like some of you guys have your preferences. Now's your chance. Now's your chance to play whatever the heck you want. I don't have to hear it. You guys are muted. Put whatever gets you in that mental space. Do what you got to do. I don't care if it's smooth jazz. Hey, we all have our preferences, right? I don't care what it is, but you guys now are in control a little bit more when it comes to that stuff. You have the setting. You have the comfortable setting. You guys can, modify that as you need to, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be ready for the workout, right? When it's time to go, it's time to go. Okay. A meal plan. I can send you guys a grocery list, but again, I need to have you guys weighed in. Hopefully, I can get you guys in there tomorrow, Richard and Summer. Linda, for anybody who hasn't weighed in, I posted this already. Tomorrow and Friday, I'll be there from 10 a.m. until like 1. Yeah, see, like Rosanna, she plays music, her own prep music, and then plays music for the workout. Meal plans are going to be basically it's what the Fit 42 regular meal plan is. Online, that doesn't need to change. What's the main thing that's changing is what we're talking about today, and that's the different workouts. And so I'm trying to just like mentally, physically, emotionally get you guys in that right mind space, and that's kind of all we're doing today. So remember, guys, we talked about today, wear your MyZone. Okay, that's all I got really. Again, I don't want to keep you guys too long, and I kind of went longer than I expected. Wear your MyZone. If you don't have one, challenge results are coming tomorrow. Tempo over load. Remember that tempo is greater than load. Take your time, right? It's not always about the amount of weight that you can push. If you're not pushing it right, then it's pointless. It's irrelevant. You're just enhancing a faulty pattern. Remember that. Don't just watch, practice, right? When the coaches are demonstrating, make sure you guys are doing them with us. Are you recovering? I will see you guys all at Sunday at 9. And then the last one, calories in, calories out. Just remember that we are, you have to eat to feed the muscle. Okay. Ellie, I thought I sent you yours already. If not, I'll send it right now. I'm going to go through them again. All righty, guys. Does anyone else have any last closing comments that they want to say? Remember, guys, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Everything we talked about needs to be done on a regular basis. All right. And now that we're moving into this new phase, tomorrow's workout, just be ready for it. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Everything we talked about, the expectation, and now everything is going to be a little higher for you guys because you guys have retained all this information. Now you guys take it and you guys apply it to the workouts. Go out and be my minions. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Thank you guys for all the hard work and continued success. If you guys ever have anything that you need, feel free to reach out to me at any time. And I will see you guys next Wednesday with another one. All right. All right, you guys have a good night.